It's now my pleasure to introduce an individual whose remarkable contributions will be recognized with an Honorary Doctor of Science degree. Angelo has traveled more than 1,000 rivers across the world. He is a devoted conservationist, paddler, educator, researcher, and high-profile communicator dedicated to protecting and conserving our waterways. I will tell you that I chair the committee that picks honorary degree recipients, and we spend a lot of time talking about who is deserving and who we should award honorary degrees to. And I will mention that within that committee, Mark, you were affectionately referred to as the river guy, okay? I would note that Canadian Geographic magazine has named Mr. Angelo as one of Canada's 100 greatest modern-day explorers. Mr. Angelo is also the founder and chair of BC Rivers Day and World Rivers Day, celebrated in more than 60 countries. He has been recognized with the Order of British Columbia, the Order of Canada, and the Queen's Golden and Diamond Jubilee medals. Mr. Angelo is a fellow of the Explorers Club and of the Royal Canadian Geographic Society. He continues to work with environmental organizations throughout the world and mentors young people on this important and pressing modern-day cause. Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor of presenting to you, for the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, Angelo, the river guy. Congratulations, Dr. Angelo. It's now my pleasure to invite you to address Convocation.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, members of the graduating class, faculty, families, and friends. It's an honor to be here this morning, and I am very, very grateful for this. And I have to say, in my professional work over many decades, I've been to a lot of convocations, but never one beside a river. I'm so excited about that. And to the grads here this morning, this too is an amazing day in your life, something you should celebrate and be very, very proud of. Now, I've had the privilege of working in academia for many, many years. So the post-secondary world has been a big part of my life. And I've come to believe that all good schools continue to evolve in many positive ways. And Trent University certainly follows that mold. Now, the credential you'll receive today will certainly do much to prepare you for a very successful and rewarding career. But that same credential also enables you to play a broader role if you so choose. One in which you can help to influence and shape your profession, your community, your country, and perhaps even the planet as a whole. I've always believed that educational institutions are measured, perhaps more than anything else, by the contributions their grads make to their fields and to society. And in that regard, a Trent alumnus and dear friend Lorraine Bennett is here today. Second row, white coat. And as a grad of Trent, not only has she gone on to do great things in her professional and personal life, she has also maintained a close relationship with this university and its alumni association. She is an enthusiastic ambassador for this school. And when I meet people like that, I think it speaks so highly for their university. So as you go forward and carve out your own niche, try and stay in touch with this great institution. Now, as the president and the Chancellor alluded to, and as some of you know, I have spent much of my life traveling down rivers. Rivers like the Mekong, the Nile, the Yangtze, the Zambezi, the Amazon, among many others, as well as many across our own great country. Those trips over the years provided many memorable and even life-altering experiences. But those same trips also cultivated my deeply held view that rivers are lifelines in the truest sense. Far more life of all kinds resides closer to rivers than away from them. Our waterways also add greatly to the quality of life that we all enjoy. And to illustrate that, you only have to look at your own campus and surrounding community. And for anyone, and I know this probably applies to all of you, for anyone who has spent time in the Otonabee, the river that beats like a heart, literally the heart and soul of your very campus, or for those that reflect back on any river that they may have spent time on, you cannot help but appreciate that our rivers have immense natural, cultural, recreational, and historic values. Yet in spite of all those values, we often don't treat them or respect them as we should. Now, as a lifelong paddler, I've come to see a lot of parallels between the characteristics of a river's course and the stages we all go through in our own lives. A river like the Fraser in my own province, as an example. It begins as just a very small stream coming off of Mount Robson. And then as it carries on, it gets bigger and faster and wilder. And having paddled the river's full course, I've seen those wilder sections firsthand. And as happens in life, when you hit wild rapids, your boat flips on occasion. Mine certainly has. And when that happens, you have no choice but to right your raft, you get back in, and you carry on. Then as the river nears its end, it moves a little slower, becomes a little broader. It meanders a bit before reaching the sea. So a river's journey can be much like our own personal journey. And looking at the grads with us today, if I equated the stage of your life right now to, let's say, a map of the Ottawa River, the Fraser River, the Grand River, most of you would still be in the upper reaches of those waterways. So you still have a long way to paddle and much to do. Now, in those exciting years ahead of you, I'd like to offer just a few quick thoughts that I subscribe to that perhaps you may choose to embrace along the way. 1, go after your dream. Now, graduating from Trent certainly fulfills one of those dreams, a big dream, but there will be other aspirations in future. And whatever they are, big or small, pursue them. That's something my dad told me long ago when he saw how enamored I was with rivers and the outdoors. Then as a teenager, I got into paddling in a big way. And by then I knew if at all possible, I wanted to spend my life trying to protect rivers. It was a dream at the time, but that's how many things we do in life begin. You then have to decide to pursue it and make it a reality. 2, embrace opportunities to explore. In my early 20s, I tended to interpret the word exploration in a more traditional sense. And back then, it meant traveling to wild rivers and wild places. But as I got older, I came to view the word in a much broader sense. A word that means exploring new paths, simply trying to do things in a better and more effective way. And from that perspective, all of us can and should be explorers. 3, look at things not so much as what they are, but what they should be. For example, almost 50 years ago, the most polluted stream in our country, and perhaps all in North America, was Britannia Creek, north of Vancouver. The creek's dire state at the time was the result of massive amounts of acid leachate entering the river from the old Britannia copper mine. Back then, literally nothing could live in the creek. No fish, no insects, no aquatic vegetation. Now, at the time, the notion of ecological restoration hadn't taken root, and many felt the energy, the effort, the money required to clean up this area was better spent elsewhere. I was often told, quote, better to focus on protecting healthy rivers, end quote. But my belief was, why not do both? And while I won't go into detail how we got there, the fact is that after decades of work, Britannia Creek and Howe Sound that it flows into, it came back to life. And in 2011, salmon returned to that creek for the first time in almost a century. So that highlights my belief that we should never give up on any river. But in a broader sense, it also exemplifies the fact that whatever you do in life, At some point, there will be an opportunity, big or small, to change something for the better, to make it what it should be. And number 4, one that I feel very strongly about, make nature a significant and regular part of your life, as well as the little ones you may be connected to. I think we are so lucky to live in a place where the natural world is not that far away. It's just right down the hill. Take advantage of that wherever you are. It's so important to your mental and physical health. Being outside makes us happier. Just as importantly, exploring a local creek or forest with a child is simply a great way to spend time with them. Yet many children in today's cities and today's urban environment get little exposure to the natural world. And if that continues, I worry that the next generation may lose that link to nature and may be less likely to appreciate the importance of protecting the environment. And lastly, I hope you'll always retain the positive outlook and the hopefulness that's in you today. I can see it in your faces. Now, I often think back to my own travels, I have to say, and I think of some of the disturbing things I've seen in my lifetime. Famine and drought, terrorism, pollution. So it would be easy to be pessimistic about where we're headed. But I have never come to that point. In fact, I'm optimistic. Sometimes guardedly so, but nevertheless, I am optimistic about the future. And a major reason for that has to do with the many young people I've had the privilege of working with. Young people that were energetic, committed, principled, and passionate. Simply stated, I'm a great believer in your generation. So in the end, I do believe we'll do the right thing, and you will play a huge role. The road won't always be easy. At times it'll seem like some of those big turbulent rapids I mentioned a few minutes ago, but that's the nature of the times. Bottom line, we live in one of the most amazing places on the planet. And when you couple that with new grads like yourselves taking on an increasingly prominent role, it's hard not to be hopeful about what lies ahead. You'll achieve wonderful things. Thank you.